So, first of all, a big congratulations from me and the whole
Thank
Geology
you, sir.
Concepts family,
Thank you, sir.
for securing only rank 2. So, how does it feel?
It really feels great, sir. I have really worked hard for this, and now that it's in within my grasp, it really feels great.
Okay, so can you tell us a bit about your academic background? Like, where are you from, and what took you towards geology? And then we'll open up.
Sure, sir. So what happened was that right from my school days, I had a fascination towards Earth and space. So my first choice was definitely geology. Because I did some research on which fields would be great. I was a little weak in mathematics, so I wasn't really sure what I should do. But then geology came in. I'm not saying geology doesn't involve mathematics, it does, but I found that geology doesn't only deal with that, but it's also dealing with Earth and space at the same time. We are dealing with meteorites and all. So I decided let's do geology. It was my bachelor's time. So there I started with geology. I'm from Silchar, by the way. Did my bachelor's in Gurucharan College. So I started off there, and I eventually I started to like the subject, and eventually I started to build my niche there only. And that's how it happened. Eventually I did my master's, and then I appeared for the CSIR NET, currently planning to do my PhD.
Great. So, what is one thing about geology that attracts you the most?
So that one thing is how, we don't know so many things, and yet we are looking for it. There is always that uncertainty when we are talking about Earth. It's not that simple. So, in a way, geology deals with so many components. We know that. So that kind of attracted me into the subject itself. So I would say that is one part that attracted me. And also the fact that when I started to, read a little bit about geology, I came across various things like volcanic eruptions and all. As a child, I was very fascinated by those events, like how volcanic eruptions happen. I had my fair share of earthquakes because I'm from Northeast India, which is a seismic zone 5.
Yeah,
So I had my fair share of earthquakes as well. So I got to know about these things as well. And today I can say that I know a little bit about earthquakes. So yeah, those are the things like natural calamities, why they happen and all. So that attracted me. And then when it came to space, many people suggested you could go for physics and all, but I was more interested about planetary surfaces, like the surface of Mars, the surface of the moon and all that. So that also attracted me towards geology because there is a branch of geology called planetary geology, and I like that branch. So that also attracted me towards geology in particular.
all right. So, when in your this academic career, like BSc and MSc, CSIR NET took central stage, and when you started planning for it to
Sir, it
to
was
clear this
MSc.
exam, MSc.
It started in my MSc. So at that time, I was thinking what I should do. I looked at some previous year questions and I was perplexed because atmospheric science, climatology, and oceanography is not taught in our curriculum. So I was perplexed looking at the answers like what is Ekman spiral? What is Coriolis force? I had no idea. So, but I found out that these are the topics you need to master if you want to do well in this CSIR net. So that's where I started. And eventually, I started to grow my interest. That's when I came across geology concepts as well. So I was browsing a little bit all around the internet. I came across geology concepts. I saw all of this, and I was like, okay, let's give it a shot. And doesn't here I am today.
So let's talk about the strategy now. So,
Okay, sure.
if we dive into your preparation plan, right, when did you started preparing seriously? So, what is it, the second year of the MSc?
Actually, sir, during my master's, during the second year, I gave my first attempt. That attempt was purely, I would say, just kind of like practice. I wanted to see how it is like. So I gave a
Oh,
practice. It didn't end well, of course, because there was a lot of MSc work and everything. Dissertation also came up during that time, so I never had the opportunity to score well. My second attempt I in my second attempt I eventually cleared net, but I was lagging. I was missing LS and JRF by a very short margin. So I said maybe let's give another attempt, and this time I was able to do better.
Okay, so let's talk about the exam. So there are
Okay,
three parts in NET: Part A, Part B, and Part C. Like Part A is
sure.
aptitude, right? And we know Part B and Part C are
Yeah,
complicated, like
discipline.
geology plus all earth science and all the domains. So what was your plan regarding the
So,
paper?
sir, sure, sir. So, what happened was that the last attempt that I gave, there I stumbled a lot, and I realized that I was making a basic mistake. I wasn't segregating the papers based on which is important, which is not. And that's why I ended up with a low score during my second attempt. So, I decided to work on that. First thing I did was I segregated based on topic weightage because I know that it's very difficult to complete the entire syllabus. So what I did was I segregated the subjects like climatology and oceanography. I made them core. Some geological concepts like geophysics and geomorphology, they became my core. Geochemistry was already my strong suit because I worked in my dissertation with geochemistry on an ortho site. So there my geochemistry and petrology was were a strong suit. I made my structural geology stronger, and I divided this based on the weightage, and that's how I went by. So I focused on those things, and I did my
So
preparation.
in a way, you are saying that strategy is a very important part of this exam.
Absolutely, sir. Without strategy, it's like going in blind in a battlefield.
So tell me the strategy part wise. So let's talk about the part C, which is the where you have to do 25 questions.
Okay, so as for part C, my plan was simple. The same plan I discussed before, that subject-wise weightage. There, I went through all the details. Like if I am learning Coriolis force, I'm not just going through the simple concepts. I'm trying to find the applications. For example, what happens when the wind moves in that direction? What will be the that segment transport direction? What will, as in, I dive deeper. I went way past the thermocline of the ocean like that. So I did. I started digging deeper. I went as deep as I could for that. And it wasn't just for climatology, oceanography, or planetary. I went for all the geological concepts as well, even geophysics and geochemistry. So I went for deeper studies there, and I found out eventually. But one thing is very important, we all know, that is a previous year question practice. I practiced a lot of previous year questions, so that helped me a lot with my strategy, because I knew that what is the depth I need to work on, and I worked on that depth only. I understood what is the depth, and based on that I prepared myself for the part C.
As in, you knew ki what kind of questions will be asked,
I knew
right?
the pattern exactly, like
Yeah,
what kind of question there I should be anticipating.
good. So part B with similar strategy, I guess,
Yeah, similar strategy almost.
and aptitude. So did you practice
Mm,
separately for aptitude, or was it just ki you have
I
it in?
practice separately. I
Okay.
practiced separately for aptitude, and it was really helpful. I had a few books and reference materials for part A, and I used multiple sources for part A. Part A, I also took help from Geology Concepts, where I got a lot of understanding about how to solve these aptitude problems, because I suffered a lot in aptitude in the previous encounter. So I started to strengthen it, analytical thinking, all of that that comes along. So I started practicing. I started practicing aptitude, and slowly and slowly I could build myself there.
So what was your score part wise, if I may ask?
Sir, part wise, I'm not really sure about the part wise part, but I can say how much I have answered. So as for part A, I was able to answer out of, so we have to attempt 15 questions. So out of the 15 questions, I attempted around 10 questions like that. For part B, I attempted out of 35, I attempted around 28 to 29 questions, 29.
With
And
surety.
yeah, I'm with surety, I can say that from the exam only. So as for part C, that's where that's where the game changing happened. I answered 25 out of 25 questions from there only.
And how much sure were you of all 25 questions?
100% sure, sir.
Oh, great.
I'm not,
Nice,
I'm
nice.
serious
That's
about it.
good to know. So there's this. common question that I get from Part C from other students when they're preparing is like
Mm.
they do not understand which question to leave because there is lot you have to pick, right? So there are a lot of questions in that you have to pick 25 questions, and a lot of time goes in reading the questions. And then if you leave it, you have less time. So what was
Yeah.
strategy there? What picking questions is one of the main crucial part of Part C.
Yeah, that is actually the tricky part, and it's a really good question. So for that, I don't know if I would say if I had a strategy separately for that. I started, yeah, I definitely looked through all the questions, whichever were there. For that, I applied this strategy. I did not touch the questions I wasn't sure about. Instead, I looked for the ones that are easy and the ones that I'm sure of. I started ticking them, and those that seemed kind of shady, for that there is a provision for mark for review. I left them for mark for review, and then came back when I had ample amount of time in my hand, where even if I'm not able to answer the question, it's perfectly fine because I have answered most of them. So I worked on that later on. So that's how I went by, because I knew that not all questions can be attempted, and the questions that I wasn't sure about, I just left them. That's how
You
I
did not attempt.
segregated the question. Yeah, I
Okay.
did not attempt. I segregated the question based on which one I will attempt. I know which one I am not sure, but maybe that this is it. I kept it in one side, and those which I don't know, I did not even look at them the second time.
Great. So that becomes crucial, I guess. Once
Yeah.
you can, once जैसे cricket में भी होता है, once you know the ball that you have to leave,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
That becomes very important because
Mm.
time is only 3 hours, and in Part C, a lot of time gets wasted in reading the question and then leaving it,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So then, yeah. Tell me, what are the subjects that you find toughest and they were problematic in your preparation, and then you overcame that problem, and how?
Okay. So yeah, so the problem I faced was with structural geology and geophysics. Those were really a problem. So I used to watch lectures like 3 to 4 times, wherever I got it, Geology Concepts or other YouTube lectures. But even then, I found that there was some problem. Of course, I try, because even though no matter how well the tutor is giving you the information, there's always component of yours that you have to work upon. So I found that this part was a little difficult. So I, instead of avoiding it, which I made a mistake previously, instead of avoiding it, I took it back. And for structural geology, sir, I did this. I started to find out which topics in structural geology I find hard. And I decided to work on them in a separate way. And the easier ones are the basic ones like folds, classification of folds, faults, and all of that. For those, I did a separate kind of study. For those which were harder, I worked on them when, for example, that depends on my schedule. Like in the morning hours when I'm fresh, I worked on them. So I got a new perspective every time. I would get up, walk, or maybe even do something, whatever I want, and then come back and work on it. So that's how it went by. But still, then I won't say that it was 100% useful, but it definitely helped to some extent. As for geophysics, I practiced a lot of numericals. I took help from the guidebook of GATE, and there are a lot of GATE exam books that I had. I used those. I practiced a lot of numericals, and I tried to get the concepts alongside.
Right. So it's like a lot of practice is a
Yeah,
must to overcome.
yeah,
And yeah, so that's what I also keep telling students ki, the more you practice, the more comfortable you get with the difficult part. And more
yeah,
comfortable you are, it becomes less scary in the exam.
yeah.
Otherwise, sometimes questions are easy, but it just looks scary. तो वो प्रॉब्लम कई बार रहता है स्टूडेंट्स का. Yeah,
Mm.
nice. And okay, so now coming to the core of the preparation, how did you manage your notes, and what is your strategy around building notes? How
So
important
for
role
that,
did they play?
uh, yeah, so for that, I am thankful to my teachers from my BSc times. Taught me one very crucial thing, and that is called running notes. And sir, I would say there is no alternative to running notes. Running notes are the perfect thing there is in this universe. Because when I started making running notes, I found that whatever the teacher says, I'm writing it down, and that is a sort of writing and listening at the same time that locks into your memory, in a core of your memory, and that is really helpful. And like that, I started making notes on every subject, running notes. For I took the recorded lecture, so I would pause, write the note, and maybe arrange it in my own way, and then again resume like that. So I did that for climatology. I have a long note on climatology, oceanography, geomorphology, you name it, sir. So I started making a lot of running notes, and every time, like there's an entire separate volume of that particular note there. It's not like it's written like a book, it's more like a running note every time. Like for example, Ramsey's classification of fold, what are the class 1A, class 2A, like this. I jotted down all the points, and when I went for the, before, let's say 15 days before the exam, I used the same note,
Yeah, of
and running notes
course.
helped. That helped.
And how many times you would have revised, or what is the revision schedule throughout the preparation?
Sir, I did not make any schedule for revision. I was randomly revising. I was like, abhi man ho raha hai ki let's revise climatology. I just took climatology and I started reading through the papers. For example, I started on Coriolis force. I would dig deep into Coriolis force, what it all means, and search Google and whatever online tools are available at my disposal. I started working on that and started to deepen my conceptual learning, understanding of it.
Yeah. So let me rephrase this. Now, how many times would have you revised your notes?
Okay, so
Maybe
coming to
it was
that.
maybe it was random, but at least two, three times or four times you must have. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
3, 4, 5 times like that. Yeah,
everything have
definitely.
been revised. Great,
Yeah,
great. So yeah, and you were enrolled in our video lecture course. So I have to ask
yeah.
you, ki, what help did the geology concepts provided in your preparation?
The conceptual learning set, geology concepts, the word concepts itself, the conceptual understanding, because concept was lacking in various ways. In because whenever I used to attend one of those lectures, I'm like, I didn't know that. Where did that come from? So I would note it down. There were a lot of mistakes I made. There were a lot of things I assumed to be right, but they were wrong. And that's where geology concepts came in. And sir, you and Shagar sir, they really helped me understand. For example, sedimentology. That was something I always had confusion about sedimentary structures, exactly which structure is what. Today I understand. If someone asks me the paleocurrent direction of that particular structure, I can point it out. But back then I did not know how to understand where the paleocurrent direction would be like this. So I started to build the concept back there. So it was so slow and gradual way, a slow burner learning, that it helped me a lot in my preparation.
Yeah, so see, कुछ लोगों का कुछ कुछ fear होता है regarding any
Hmm.
topic. Is there anything that you overcame during this lecture जो आपको लगता था कि यार ये बहुत tough है and you would have become master in it or you able to solve the questions?
That would be said same again, geophysics and structural geology. There, I definitely faced a lot of hurdles. I started, as I said, I started solving numericals, and there were some confusions I came across, like Boger anomaly, which is what, the definitions, and then again the numericals. With my previous gate attempt, although it wasn't very successful, but I was able to solve a few numericals. As for hydrogeology, I was able to solve a few numericals. So I faced a lot of hurdles with numericals. So their practice became one thing, plus conceptual understanding. Once I had the concepts, I knew exactly what I was looking for. And there I started solving them right away. That's how it helped me. Even though it was tough for me, not hydrogeology, but essentially geophysics and all, that helped me with the conceptual
Right,
understanding helped.
right. So if I talk about the mindset during the preparation, because I'm not now getting at a broader picture. Uh, there are definitely some low times in preparation where you don't feel like studying, right? I don't know, maybe it happens with everyone, so I guess it is true for you also. But how did
Yeah.
you manage that mindset?
Yes, sir, I definitely hit a lot of lows during my preparation. Sometimes it felt like, what am I doing? Eventually, what will happen? Because the outside world is very competitive. And most importantly, there is sometimes it feels like we don't look at the world, we look at the world in our own way. Sometimes someone tells us something and our entire mindset, our entire perspective changes. So we don't know much. So what I did was, in when I felt low, like what will I do eventually? I stopped thinking about the future altogether. Shut it. I shut it all down. I would turn off my laptop. I would turn off my tab, and I'll simply go and do whatever I like. I have my few hobbies. I would do that. Maybe I'll play a game for some time and just forget about the CSIR net exam for some time. Just do that.
Okay, so what are your hobbies, Shruti?
So, sir, my hobbies are I'm an amateur astrophotographer. I'm an amateur astronomer. I like to. I have also written a book as well. So I like to write, and I do astrophotography. Those are my hobbies. I would stargaze on nights. I would just go up and stargaze, or I just look at nature and try to forget everything there is. Just look at nature and admire it.
You like stargazing?
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, tell us something. Tell any important, yeah, something that you remember from your that experience.
Well, there are so many experiences that it is not quantifiable at this point. But I would like to add one thing. One day I was feeling low, but that wasn't during my preparation but for the CSIR net, but it was during the time when I took the 1 year break for another competitive exam. There, I felt low every time because I wasn't getting the adequate kind of support from the environment, even though my parents and my family members were all there with me. But the problem was with the situation at that point because the competition and all those competitive exams that I attempted eventually for that, I felt low. So I went out to look at the stars. I looked at the stars, the vastness of the universe itself. Somewhere I felt that those problems of mine were insignificant. They don't matter. What matters really is that we exist there at this point. We exist. We are alive at this beautiful planet. And maybe that's how it fueled my love for geology as well. Because at this point, when we feel low, कि मेरा research नहीं हो रहा है, अटक गया है, that time we try to remember our purpose. कि I'm studying, let's say, the orogeny of the Himalayan orogeny. If I feel stuck, let's say I'm working in some random university, I would go for a trip into the Himalayas and try to reconnect with the same nature I'm working on. That's what I did. For stargazing, it
Great.
gave me that sense of purpose, and that
Yeah,
helped.
it is very good to connect with nature because sometimes you feel so relaxed and calming that it
Mm,
really helps to get yourself together, right? To
yeah.
restart. Right. Now, I'm getting to some of the more minute things here. Can you tell us
Mm.
what your daily routine looked like during the preparation? Like an average day, how would it look like?
Well, sir, my it would be highly variable, but if I look at it, I would say that yeah, I would wake up at a variable time. But whenever I did, my mind was fresh for about 2 to 3 hours. At that time, I would be working on the conceptual topics, very hard conceptual topics, like for example, geophysics there. And then slowly, when the day sets in, I start to feel a little tired, a little groggy. The day starts to set in and all. So and there I do some, let's say, previous year questions of the like climatology, oceanography. I had a bunch of questions of those. I started solving them. And
Hmm.
then there would be a time when I would give myself a break, like 2 or 3 hours of break. I would maybe watch something, maybe a movie, or maybe just go up and observe nature, maybe spot
Hmm.
1 or 2 aeroplanes like that, and then come back and then start studying again. By that time, nightfall has already happened. I mean, evening hours, I would study after, and during the evening hours, I just go on and go on up until I'm too tired to keep my eyelids open.
Great. So, uh, these days the students have this habit of scrolling through Instagram, which is, I think, one of the major uh, time-consuming activity and also
Mm,
mind-consuming. So,
yeah.
were you also facing that?
Yeah, I realized that this is taking too much of my time and all those brain rot content. I eventually did one thing that helped me a lot. I created a separate account, but that was before the feature of content preference reset rollout. I had a separate account. on Instagram. There, I would be only having geology and astronomy stuff. So every time I would scroll in, I would be finding something like that. Not those brain rot things that are giving those short bursts of dopamine. Not that. So I would be that won't allow me to scroll. I'd be just satisfied with just one or two reels. That's all. And today, sir, I am at this stage where I don't even use my phone to most of the times. I'm not using my phone. I would open Instagram maybe if I take a cumulative 24 hours, just 1 hour, maybe 25 minutes, 1 hour, 25 minutes around. It
And
has
that also
reduced
geology. And that's also geology stuff.
most of the time, but that depends. Now, I also get some brain, I also get some brain rot content. So yeah, that works.
Yeah, because this is one of the major, people don't realize that how harming that can be. Right? Because after
Absolutely.
that, you feel so tired, you don't feel like studying, and
Yeah.
it's like that. Yeah. So, Asha, let me ask you this. What keeps you motivated? Is there anything that you do to keep up your motivation, or is just naturally comes in from inside?
Well, sir, that's when I start looking for my sense of purpose. And one more thing, which is very unhealthy, I wouldn't suggest everyone to do that unless they have that ability, is to mindlessly panic about the future. Mindlessly
Oh,
think that what's going to happen. Oh my God, if I don't study this, then it will be over. And that sense of emergency would be driving my adrenaline somehow. I was able to, manipulate my own adrenaline. So I would be studying really hard by that time. I'd be very scared. But yeah, that took a toll on my, my mood and all. So I decided to quit doing that eventually.
someone suggested you to quit doing that, or you yourself decided to quit it?
I myself decided because it was taking a heavy toll on me.
Hmm. Okay, yeah, of course. So let's go through some basic questions again. If I ask you to give some suggestions, I mean, someone who is preparing or starting their preparation, right? And this question I ask to everyone when I am doing this kind of interview is that if someone gave you this time machine to go back and restart your journey, what are the mistakes that you will not do if you got a chance to do it again?
Well, as for that, I would be going back to the past during my second attempt, and I would tell my past self that go and make those list of the topics you need to work on. Don't cover every topic; it's not possible. Just go through the topics that are important. I would give myself this segregation of topics and tell my past self to go through that and do whatever I have done, solving previous year questions and all. Maybe I would do that if it were possible, and I would be getting this whatever I have got here a little early.
Okay. And what is the thing that you will not do that you have done this time and you don't want to repeat that as a mistake? Means sometimes,
uh
sometimes what happens, Shruti, sometimes we realize late that, okay, this was the mistake that I was doing. I should not have done that. Is there anything
yeah,
that
one
you,
mistake
oh,
I yeah, one mistake I believe that I made, if I say during my previous attempt and even this attempt, my previous attempt, the one mistake I made, other than the ones I've already mentioned, is of course social media. Social
you would,
media, yeah, that was a problem. But it's not like I used to, but I had this procrastination behavior back then, because whenever I would be looking at a difficult numerical, I would lose all enthusiasm to do that. I'm being very honest here. I would simply leave and just do whatever I want. I'll just roam around, maybe watch a movie. But that's where the problem came in. But eventually during my second attempt, I overcame that because I knew that there will be difficult problems. I just have to work harder and just find it out. So that was one thing that I made. That was one mistake which I always wanted to avoid. And I would, even if it were possible, I to some extent I started to make that same mistake during my preparation. In fact, I was in a very bad state eventually. So after that, I simply started to log in extra hours of study, and I eventually cracked the exam like that.
yeah. See, getting an All India rank 2 in CSIR examination is not by any means an easy task. It maybe you're making it sound so easy, but it is very difficult. It requires a lot of effort. And you have shown that that consistency and having control on oneself can you can even So tell me, did you even thought that you would get only an rank 2, or was it surprise to you when you saw the result?
Well, it was a surprise, sir. When I during my previous attempt, I got 98. So I got only PhD, and I was like, that's not enough. That's not going to get me into some flagship institutions in India for PhD. So I decided to start again, and this time I said I will score beyond 120. I will score beyond 120 this time, and I prepared according to that. I started to sharpen my concepts whichever I had. I had a good preparation back then, so it helped me a lot with my third attempt. Sorry, with my third attempt, I started to sharpen those understandings eventually, and I worked on numericals. I worked on previous year questions. I have solved all of them, by the way, from 2023 that was available to me all the way to 2014, and eventually I solved the other ones as well. Mm, So that's
Great,
how I went by. Yeah.
great. So what would be your message to the student, that those who are starting their preparation or they are in the middle of their preparation?
So I would tell them to make sure that whatever, then first of all, they segregate the important topics, because in CSIR net we are going to get this kind of pattern only, where climatology, oceanography is a very important topic. If anyone's planning to leave that, don't, please don't, because these are the very important topics. Other than that, core geology should also be your conceptual clarity should be very good, and solve as many previous year questions as possible. Don't skip that. Don't skip that. That would be my only suggestion. And with that, the consistency and a lot of hard work. So like you said, it's not easy. And I realized that because I worked really hard. At some point, honestly speaking, I did not know which day it is. I have this smartwatch which would tell me the date. Otherwise, I don't know which date it is. So at some point, I started working so hard, so eventually, I would say hard work is very necessary. Many people would say that CSIR net is relatively easy like that, but it is not. This is a totally wrong concept. It's not. It's a very difficult examination in that standard, because climatology and oceanography is not in the curriculum. A general geology student won't be able to figure it out what this means. And it's not just simple that what are the layers of the Earth's atmosphere. They are asking you deep concepts. They are asking from vorticity. They are asking Rossby number. That those are not something we have learned. So I would suggest them to do their own research as well. So they make conceptual clarity a very important thing for this exam. Conceptual clarity is everything for CSIR net. That would be my only
Yeah,
advice.
great, great. And that's a great piece of advice, because once the conceptual clarity set in, the mindset changes when you started to conceptually analyze the question and get a correct answer of that. But that gives you some confidence as to face this examination. Now,
Definitely.
yeah, so I think we have covered almost everything. And
Hmm.
just to, top it up with some basic questions, I would like to ask you, Ki, when you were in your preparation session, yeah, whenever you were starting to prepare, yeah, thinking of starting a topic, would you go for book? Would you go for your notes? Or first you will go for your, see the syllabus, see the previous year questions? Like, when a student starts to prepare any topic, they have this confusion as to where to start. So, how did you go about it? Just so that we can cover everything.
Sure, sure. So, sir, what I did was, we all have the syllabus of the CSIR net. So, let's say I am starting, I'll go for climatology again. So, let's say I'm starting with climatology. Today, I'm going to cover layers of the atmosphere. There, I will talk about the lapse rates, what is positive lapse rate, negative lapse rate. At first, I know the components of the syllabus. Followed by that, if I have a video lecture material, I would go for that. I would maybe even watch the video lecture on that, and then I would look for the exam pattern, what kind of questions they are asking. Sure, I won't be able to solve them. I'll be looking at the answer key, as in what the answer is, and then I'll learn something new. Just because I'm looking at the answer and then solving doesn't mean I'm cheating. Rather, I'm learning something new from there. Then again, I come across a new term. There I've come across the term Rossby number. So I started using the internet for that. What is Rossby number? And eventually I got an answer. And then through the subsequent lecture, even that was clear. So what I did was a multi-step approach. At first I looked at the syllabus, segregated it. Eventually, I looked at the lectures, made notes from the lecture, solved the questions, tried to fill in whatever extra things that were left behind and that has been asked in the question. Look it up, research it, add it, and I just went by like that.
Great. That's a good way to do it. And how often do you follow the core textbooks? Did you do that?
Yes, sir, I did. I mean, for Igneous, I definitely followed J.D. Winter. This is a great book. This is, I would say, the Bible for this
And it's a very
Igneous. And
nicely written book. It's a very good book.
yeah, very good book. It's very detailed. In fact, we get to learn. I get to learn every new thing every now and then. So right now, as I'm here, so I read a new topic. I would learn a new thing because he really makes every part very crystal clear in that sense. I have other books as well, but I feel like J.D. Winter's book is very detailed and very easy to understand in that sense. So that really helped me.
Great. So yeah. So towards the end, Shruti, uh, uh,
Mhm.
what was the reaction of the family when they knew that you were, only rank two?
So it definitely, even though I was expecting a good score, I was
First the thing
actually
that you were only surprised, and when you told them, what was the reaction?
my jaw dropped so loud that it became so, I mean, so open that you could even shove an entire watermelon inside my mouth. It was that much. I mean, I even refreshed it like maybe 5 times around. I refreshed it. I wasn't ready to believe it because I was in disbelief. I know I worked hard and everything, but and then I looked at the percentile and I was like, what's happening here? I went through this phase of disbelief and then this sudden shock that this is a big deal for me. I felt like I was dreaming and all. So I knew that was I always knew I mean, I have worked hard, so a good score is
I
on the
think before,
books.
after giving the examination, you were sure that you will clear through. That would have been.
That was 100%. I had a score. I had a score of 125 to one. Sorry, to 130 in my mind. So 140 totally gave me a jump scare right there.
And when you told your parents about it,
That reaction was intense, sir. My reaction was intense. Their reaction was intense. Everyone's reaction was intense. It was like all hell broke loose. Broke loose.
nice. Nice. Okay, so this brings us towards the last part of the this conversation. What next? Would you attempt other exams like GSI and GATE? Or would you see you are always interested in research, or uh, you were interested in GSI as a geoscientist also?
Sir, I'm interested in research. Like I said, for planetary, want to work on planetary geology. So I am looking for a chance in some flagship institutes, like for example PRL, or under some supervisor who is currently working on planetary geology. So at this point right now, I am preparing, but I'm more focused on looking for supervisors, and at the same time I'm working as a temporary faculty role in Gurucharan University. That's also supplementing me with whatever I the knowledge I require. So there I'm also working, and alongside I'm looking for potential supervisors. So I'm ready to go for a PhD within the next session.
Great, great. So all the best, Shruti, for your future
Thank you, sir.
research. And this brings us towards the end, where we would like to thank Shruti so that he was able to make time and for this interview and tell us the details of his preparation. Thank you so much. Right. And
Thank you, sir.
your story does not just give the clarity, but inspiration and motivation also to other students. Right. Because interviews like this, I've been told in my personal messages also that these kind of interviews really help students to connect. Because as you said, ki aapne, this is your third attempt, right? So most of the
Yes.
students, generally they get highly demotivated by around second attempt. And your story can give them a chance to fight back. And, from 98 to 141. This is a big jump in score, and it's just about getting serious about the topics and making a strategy, as you said, for every topic, right? And that insight,
Yes.
I think, would help a lot of students. And thank you, Shruti, for taking out time, right?
Thank you,
And
sir. Pleasure's all mine,
and
sir.
yeah, and our entire Geology Concepts family, however small role we have played in your success, we would like to thank you for that. Yeah.
It played a big role, sir. Not small. It played a very big role. Definitely, as I previously mentioned. A
So,
big
so
role.
thank you very much, and we'll keep touch. All right.
Sure,
So,
sir. Definitely,
okay.
sir.
Yeah, so thank you, Shruti. This was nice
Thank you,
meeting you.
sir.
Yeah. Good night.
Good night, sir.